Good evening, all. It's Deborah Krasniansky here from Adai. At Adai, our focus is to provide tools and mindsets for successful marriage from even before dating, through the dating process, and into the marriage. And to that end, we have several resources on our website, articles, webinars, mini courses, and you can find that all at our website, adai.org. That's ADAIAD.org. That's all A's, ADAIAD.org. As well, we have several of such conference calls as the one we're having tonight, and you can find the recording of all those previous calls on the website as well at adai.org/previous-events, and you'll find a listing of all the previous events that we've had, as well as tonight's call will be there very soon. We're also very grateful to Matthew Eugene from the City of New York, who provided the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council with a grant to combat domestic abuse and to address marriage issues. And with that grant, we are able to do such mini courses and workshops such as tonight's conference call. So we're very grateful to the City of New York and to Crown Heights Jewish Community Council for partnering up with us. Tonight's topic, parenting your young children as a team, conversations spouses should have around parenting young children. And tonight we'll be talking with Dr. Yael Respler, who's a noted psychoanalyst in the areas of family, marital, and intimate relationship issues. Now, throughout this call, you can send in your questions anonymously, as it said in the poster that you must have seen in order to get the phone number. You can send them to adai.org/ask-anonymous-question. And throughout the call, we'll be receiving those questions, and at the end, we can address those questions. So with that, Dr. Yael, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for that lovely. I'm a psychotherapist, not psychoanalyst, but that's okay. All right, thank you for that lovely introduction. And I wanted to start, I'm talking tonight about parenting as a team. So actually, why am I addressing parenting? Because the basis of everything, and I do a lot of parenting training, dating, marital therapy, I deal with the intimate relationship. The basis of everything is really the parents, the way the child is. If I look at my practice, and I worked all day today, even though there was a snowstorm, I have a lot of clients throughout the United States, even some in the UK, in London, England, and basically I did a lot of phone sessions today because it was a snowstorm, and basically I would say the core problem for most people is lack of self-esteem. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So for years, I've been in the field over 30 years, and for years I focused when I was younger on doing parenting training. I did about 95 parenting workshops. And then I started branching out into doing marital harmony workshops, because in every parenting workshop I focused a bit on marriage, and then I saw more and more that was the focus. Okay, but tonight's speech is going to be devoted to both, really basically parenting as a team, how you could parent your children as a team, the two of you together. Okay, so I wanted to start the little lecture with a joke. They asked a priest, a minister, and a rabbi, when does life begin? So the priest said, life begins when the child is conceived. And the minister said, no, life begins when the child is born. And the rabbi said, no, you don't know anything. Life begins when the children are married. Okay, so everyone laughs usually at this joke, but the truth is there is some truth to it. I could tell you that statistically, they've done studies, that it's really true. We fight more about children. Therefore, marital harmony is greatest before we have children and after they get married. And in between, I think that the way we raise our children can sometimes pose huge problems. And children in general can create a lot of conflict in the marriage. So it's really incumbent upon us to try to parent our children as a team so that the children don't divide and conquer. So the first thing I think we have to realize is that it's a real challenge. We have to realize that we have to control our own anger and create a warm, safe environment that will result in really bringing up healthy, happy children. Because those healthy, happy children will then be able to date effectively, get married effectively, sustain marriages effectively, and parent their children effectively. And there goes the generations by generation. So if you, any of you listening, and I'm sure everyone listening has some issues, no one comes from a perfect home. Every family has some dysfunctions. So everyone listening has to say to themselves, well, maybe I could do things a little better than my parents did, or in some cases a lot better. So I really want to talk about building that warm, secure home as a team. And I'm going to talk a lot about respect, because I think one of the key issues in really bringing up children is bringing them up with respect. Okay, so my first thing is that I found myself recently sitting at an affair near a young couple, and they had an adorable 4-year-old child. And we were all kind of eating from a platter of pickles, and this little 4-year-old reaches his hand out and takes a huge handful with his hand of pickles. And his mother scolds him, "David, don't be a little fresser." And she scolded him publicly, which was actually embarrassing to the child, and the child answers and giggles, "And you, Mommy, don't be a big fresser." And he shouts to his mother, and everyone laughs, but I wasn't laughing. I thought to myself, this is how chutzpah begins. We often think that we can unconsciously tolerate and even reinforce this type of insolence. But instead of correcting her child, the mother communicated that she thought he was funny and cute. However, 10 years down the road, it is not so cute. It is not cute anymore when children are disrespectful. So I think there are two issues here. One is that the mother was disrespectful to the child by publicly humiliating him. She could have whispered in his ear, "David, maybe take the pickles, take one or two." And she could have quietly stopped him, but she didn't have to publicly humiliate him and call him a big fresser, a little fresser. And then he responded in a very disrespectful way, and she laughed. And it's sometimes hard. I know I speak to parents. They say, "What do I do? They're so small. They're so cute. They say such cute things." But it's chutzpah. It's disrespect. And it's not so funny. And when you laugh at it, you're actually reinforcing that disrespect. So I think that we really have to realize that we have to be respectful to our children, and we have to be respectful to each other. And therefore, our children will emulate us by being respectful to them. Children learn more by example. They learn more by example on how we speak to them. And if we speak to our children in a disrespectful tone, they will likely end up speaking to us disrespectfully. At a different affair I attended, I'm giving you all my little stories, the bar mitzvah boy thanked his parents at the end of the bar mitzvah. Or maybe while he was speaking, in his speech, at the end of his speech, I'm sorry. And he said, "And my mother takes such good care of her children. 8 kids, not 7, since my father is the 8th. And he joked, and this drew an appreciative chuckle from the whole crowd, including his parents, who probably helped him write this speech. Now, is this funny? Think about it. He publicly humiliated his father, who paid for this extremely lavish affair. And is it appropriate for a 13-year-old to publicly or even non-publicly humiliate and diminish his father by characterizing him as a child or childish? This is actually forbidden chutzpah. So I think that that's another thing I want to discuss with you. While the bar mitzvah boy's family really prides themselves, what are we to our children? We are not their chums. We are not their friends. We could be friendly to them. We could be loving and sweet to them and caring, but they are not our equals. They have to understand we are their parents and they are our children. And this particular brand of sarcastic, mocking humor is really the result of a disturbing destruction parent-child boundary. And it's really lowering the self-esteem on the part of the children. It's not increasing self-esteem. The family in this situation may see itself as fun. Oh, we hang out with our children and we're so cute. We kibitz and we joke around. But it's not fun if somebody's feelings are getting hurt. I'm sure the father felt hurt by this joke that maybe he even helped write. It wasn't funny. And all the money and effort spent on that lavish bar mitzvah were kind of wasted, in my opinion, if the basic Torah principle of honoring one's parents were not properly transmitted. Because that's basically what we want to teach our children. We want to teach our children to honor and respect us. And we do that by respecting them and by respecting each other. Yes. Children learn respect by the way we respect each other. If we don't show respect to each other, children learn disrespect. So let me give you examples of that. I think that okay, I have one more story before I give you an example of the respect. Respecting your child. I recently sent a gift to a child of an acquaintance, and I ran into the mother of the child, and the mother immediately turned to the child and said, "Did you say thank you to Dr. Respler?" I felt like fainting. And this was a 3-year-old child, and the child looked mortified, and I felt like cringing. And the mother really failed to demonstrate respect to her own child. A better approach would have been to quietly whisper in the child's ear, say thank you, or even miss the thank you, skip it, or say thank you herself. But embarrassing the child publicly teaches children that it's all right to embarrass other people. And that teaches children that it's all right to embarrass you as the parent. Okay, clearly the share of the responsibility, and I'm talking a lot about respect because many times people will say love, love, love. And I say to people, love goes out of the window if there's no respect in a relationship. Respect is a very key issue in a relationship. So how do we avoid chutzpah? How do we teach our children respect? It lies squarely on the shoulders of the parents themselves. They're the ones who have to model respect and respect in the family. So parents should try to treat each other with respect. Parents who think that by disrespecting each other in front of the children, it's not a problem, they are creating a serious problem. If they really disagree on an issue, it's best to present a united front and discuss the disagreement privately. I always say agree to disagree, and disagree privately. Parents who show respect to one another and encourage their children to respect the other parent will ultimately they're going to create a really beautiful, warm, respectful environment and respectful children. So that's very important, that parents have to respect each other in front of the children. A father who says to his child, "This is not how we speak to mommy," that's very critical, and encourages the child to respect their mother. And a mother who says to a child, "This is not how we speak to daddy," and encourages the child to speak respectfully, will ultimately gain the respect of their children. Parents, I have it all the time. Parents will put each other down in front of the children, or will try to get the child to side with them if they're having a fight. I think to myself, what are you doing? Why are you fighting in front of the kids and engaging the child in your argument and trying to get the child to side with you? What are you doing? I mean, why are you including a child in a fight when they feel so insecure when you're fighting? I'll never forget one child said to me, "Every time my parents fought, I was so afraid they would get divorced. I was terrified," because she had divorced children in her class, children from divorced homes, I should say. I would do anything. I would help. I would do extra just so they shouldn't fight. It made me so scared when my parents fought. So it's really frightening to children. And children sometimes don't realize it. What happens often, that parents will fight publicly and they will make up privately. And I say to parents, there has to be some demonstration of affection. I mean, you don't have to be some kind of love boat situation, but like a smile, humor, happiness between each other, respect between each other, that the child is growing up and feeling a secure, warm home where the parents get along. Save your fights for the bedroom. Don't do the opposite. Don't fight publicly and say you're making up privately. It's not a good way. We must parent our children as a team because children love to play what we call divide and conquer. They sense any kind of discord between their parents. Oh, but Daddy let me do this. He always says you're too strict. You're so mean, Mommy. That's what they do. They divide and conquer. But Mommy lets me do this. Why do you have to be so mean, Daddy? Don't let them divide and conquer you. Say, no, this is what Daddy and I decided. This is what Mommy and I decided. We made a united effort, and this is the best way to go about this situation. The last thing we want to create is divide and conquer. So I wanted to address, because it's interesting, because I wanted to talk a little bit about divorce and co-parenting. What is a good divorce? There is something called a good divorce. I mean, of course, divorce is not the optimal situation, but the best possible situation in a divorce situation, Wallerstein and Kelly have written a lot about it, is when parents demonstrate harmony between each other. When they co-parent their children together and they're united, and the most important thing is that we are united and that we are co-parenting together, and healthier the child will ultimately become as an adult, the more that we co-parent together. So we have to understand our children and validate their feelings. I often do dating counseling, and people come in to me, and this is really frightening, and they say to me, I don't know what I'm feeling. I can't identify how I feel, Dr. Respler. I don't know. Do I like this girl? Do I like this boy? Do I really feel positively? I can't really identify it. And I have to help them get in touch with their feelings. But years of having their feelings invalidated, and that's why I want to talk about a few parenting tips, makes people really not in touch with their feelings. Let's say, think about it for yourself. You had an awful day at work. You had an awful day at home, I'm sorry. And you're a mother. Everything happened wrong. The breakfast burnt. Lunch didn't turn out so great. The kids came home in a bad mood. Dinner wasn't amazing. And you had an awful day. Your husband walks in, and he says to you, you tell him, honey, I had a terrible day today. Everything happened wrong. Now, if he were to say to you, the problem with you? You're not organized. If you had a schedule, you'd be organized. All these things wouldn't happen to you. If he said that to you, you would feel terrible. However, if he validated your feelings and said to you, honey, sit down, let me make you a cup of tea, pick up your legs, talk to me, let me listen to you, let me validate you, really must have sounded like a bad day. He just bought you the greatest present in the world. He gave you the feeling of validation. That's the feeling we want to give our children. Our children come home from school. They had a bad day. Don't give them a speech. Don't tell them, oh, you have to be more friendly, you have to be more outgoing, or whatever advice you have to give them. Validate their feelings. Even in a young child, validate a young child's feelings. As I said to you, even a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, the minute children learn how to speak, they're smart. They're really smart. They feel that you respect their feelings. They're going to respect you, and they're going to respect your feelings, and they're going to understand and feel validated. I know when parents say when a child says to a parent, Mommy, I'm really, really cold, and the parent says, no, it's not cold in here. That's invalidating. Here, you want a sweater? You want me to turn up the heat a little bit? Or the opposite, I'm really hot, Mommy. I don't want to wear this sweater. No, it's cold. You have to wear the sweater. You have to, I'm not talking about freezing weather where they're going out without a coat, but I'm talking about slight temperature differences even. Don't invalidate your child. Okay, I want to share a humorous story with you. I think, so just to sum that up before I share the story, what we want to give our children, we want to understand their feelings, we want to build a relationship with them. We want to really validate them and build them as human beings. We want to make them feel special. And if we do make them feel special and we validate their feelings and we build them as human beings, they will be able to be better adults and more healthy as they grow up and make healthier choices when they get engaged and married and bring up their own children. The biggest problem in my practice is self-esteem. It's unbelievable, low self-esteem. Insecurity, low self-esteem plagues the world. And the more insecure a person is, the less they can deal with life's challenges. And believe me, life hits you with many challenges. So the more secure you can build your children, this is the first step. You are actually parenting your children as a team, two parents, whether you're divorced or married. You are trying to build their souls. You're trying to build them spiritually and emotionally so they could feel strong about themselves and have roots to feel good about themselves and wings to eventually establish their own homes. Okay, now I'm going to share with you a humorous story. And it's a little interesting. Okay, so Mr. Katz was a very wealthy man. He had a fabulous business. And he had an only daughter. He had only one child, his only daughter. And finally she gets married to this young man. And he sends them on a glorious honeymoon around the world. And he really is thrilled with this marriage. And the boy comes back, the girl, the couple comes back from the honeymoon. And the plan is that the boy will go to work for Mr. Katz in his business. So after the honeymoon, Mr. Katz says to his new son-in-law, I love you and I want to treat you like a son. Not a son-in-law. I am going to give you 50% of my business. You're not going to be a son-in-law. You're going to be like my son. But I want you to get to know the business. So maybe you could start by just walking around, getting to know every department, observing the business. Son-in-law says, Dad, I don't know. I have bad back problems. Your business is so huge. It's blocks and blocks. I'm going to have to walk. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could walk around the whole business. So Mr. Katz says, okay, it's hard for you to walk around. Maybe you could spend time in the accounting department. It's like the core department of our business. Spend time in the accounting department, get to know the numbers and what's going on in our business. So he says to him, you know, Dad, I have to look at numbers and have to understand how the business runs. I was never good at math. It gives me headaches. I look at numbers. It's not good for me. My father's getting really frustrated. He's getting, boy, I took this son-in-law, what a number. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to walk around to get to know the business. He doesn't want to go to the accounting department. Okay, he says to him, try the sales department. Maybe you could learn how the business is run from the sales department. He goes, Dad, the sales department, I have to take people out to eat. I have to speak. I have to make chit-chat. It's not for me, the small talk. I don't like to do that. It's just annoying to just talk to people and make small talk. I don't know if I'm with the sales department. So he's really getting frustrated, Mr. Katz. And he says to him at this point, he's enraged. He says, I don't understand. What do you want to do? Here you are coming into my business. I'm taking you in as a son, giving you 50% of the business, and all you're telling me is that you don't want to do anything I suggest doing. You don't want to get to know the business. You don't want to understand it. How are you going to be involved in running the business if you don't want to get involved? So the son-in-law replies, well, Dad, since I own 50% of the business, I want you to buy me out. Okay, I don't know, the audience is, usually I do this in front of a live audience and I see them and they laugh. So it's a joke, but it's not so funny. Because here's this spoiled son-in-law who marries this girl from a wealthy home and thinks he has to be bought out and treated like a king without working. It may be a joke, but it's really not so funny. This son-in-law is expecting everything to be done for him. And we don't want that. We as parents want to raise children who are hardworking and respectful. How do we do this? You know what? In reality, what I see is that we tend to give our children a lot. We give them and buy for them and do for, especially this generation. We continue to do for them, and we constantly trying to there's so many things that parents buy. It's crazy with the era of technology. Like you see kids walking around, they're zoned out. They're zoned out with their iPads and whatever laptop. Who knows what they're just zoned out with all this technology. And we give our children a lot of stuff. And we don't expect much from them. You know what? Let them be pampered. We don't want to work them too hard. Now, I'm not telling you to make your children into slaves. I think expectations from children is very important. Expecting from children actually breeds self-esteem. It helps them develop into better human beings. Many parents will say, well, the best job for me is if my child just gets out of my way and lets me do the work. If I'm doing work in the kitchen, just get out of my way and leave me alone. But actually, that's not so healthy. I think it's better if you do get your children involved. They enjoy having jobs. I'm saying not that you work them to pieces, but they enjoy having jobs that are appropriate for their age. So they could be small jobs, let's say the young child, which we're addressing young children. You could give those jobs that they can do and will build their self-esteem. For example, setting a table for the Sabbath, for Friday night. You could pick out a whole bunch of decorative napkins. I remember I always used to have a lot of napkin collections. I would go to all these sale places and buy all kinds of fancy napkins and say, okay, you're picking the napkins, you're setting the table. And they would feel so good because they would put the napkin in the glass with a flower, and they feel so special. They pick the napkin. And then you could say, Daddy, look how nicely Sarah sets the table. Simple cleaning tasks, helping with cooking or baking, things that are appropriate for the child, and they could do that. You could then later compliment them and build their self-esteem. Making a child do nothing, expecting nothing from a child, that's what leads to all these problems. Really, all the problems that we see in our generation is not expecting enough from children. Okay, you have to walk a fine line. You don't want to expect too much, but you want to expect a realistic amount that will build their self-esteem. Cooking is great. It's a great job. If you can cook and bake with your children, it's great for their self-esteem. Even for boys, believe me, your daughter-in-laws will love you at the end. If you teach your sons how to cook, allowing a child to make some of the food, which is whatever is age appropriate, when you have company, and then let them get the compliments for cooking. The focus then it becomes the food is really delicious. Oh, it's so ego-building for this child when they get those compliments. Give your children jobs that they like most, love. Things that they love doing. Errands, if they like doing errands. Some like vacuuming. Preteens and teens maybe rather go shopping. Some like to cook. Some, like I know some people say they make more of a mess when they help me. Maybe they do. Maybe it's more of a mess. But ultimately they learn how to do things and they feel good about themselves. So that extra mess, look away from the mess. Look at your child as an urn, and with every drop, every compliment, every positive remark that you make to the child, every opportunity you give this child to build their self-esteem, you're filling that urn with lots and lots of water that's an analogy being life and compliments and self-esteem. So many times I'll say to people, oh, let your small child, give them a rag, let them spritz or spray the windows. Give them an opportunity. They'll say, oh, they love to spray with the spray. They're going to make such a mess, it drives me crazy. Maybe even if I always remember I used to have the children help clean up the table. Of course, they didn't like to take in the ketchup and the drinks or whatever. They wanted to take in the china and the glasses. And yes, when my children were young, I bought very inexpensive glasses because they would break. And guess what? A broken glass is still cheaper than a visit to the psychiatrist. So I would take the glass, sweep it up, and put it in a garbage can, and we'd buy more glasses. And the china would not be so expensive. When they were young, I bought inexpensive china because I knew that if they felt good about putting china, somehow they wanted those jobs. They wanted the jobs that were harder. If they're young children, they wanted to bring in the dishes and the glasses and the silverware. They wanted, okay, the silverware was fine, but the dishes and the glasses wasn't always so fine. So you have to give them opportunities to do things that will make them feel good about themselves. And even if they do the job not exactly the way you want it, so many teenagers will tell me, why bother? Why should I bother helping my mother? Whatever I do is never good enough anyway. That's not good. Try to praise them for what they did. In short, expectations which are healthy and really reasonable bolster a child's self-esteem. So it's really critical for a parent to be positive and complimentary, and the warmth and the love that a child sees between, when we say parenting as a team, between the parents, that's the example you set for them, how to be married when they'll be married. How often I get children, I all the time, my clients will say to me, I don't know how to be married, Dr. Respler. All I did is see my parents screaming and yelling and fighting the whole day. How can I be married? I mean, I'm trying to be different. But that's what I saw. They never had time to, and I saw so much conflict and stress between them. So I really don't know how to be positive and warm and loving. It's hard for me. I never saw that warmth between my parents. I never saw them laughing at one another. I never saw them. And that's part of the parenting. You want your children to feel when they come home safe, a safe haven. They're coming home to this warm house where there's calmness and quietness. It doesn't have to be the cleanest house in the world. It doesn't have to be spotless. That spotless house isn't necessarily going to be the best, most ego-building home. It has to be reasonably organized and clean so that the children could grow up in a clean, healthy home. But what is more important is that the children should feel positive and warmth in the house, and feel the warmth between the parents, and feel that really good about themselves. You have to compliment, give them healthy words of affirmation to a child when they meet your expectations. And a combination of reasonable expectations and genuine, generous praise will build your child's self-esteem and ultimately create healthy, independent, functional adults. Okay, now I'm going to give you some parenting tips. And again, all this, the more cohesive you can be with your husband and wife, the more you can stand together as a team, the more secure the child is going to be, the more confident they'll be in their relationship to you. And I want to give you some more parenting tips. So I want to talk about toddlers in particular, because this particular speech was supposed to be geared to younger children. So earlier I spoke about validating children's feelings, and I want to act out something for you that's really cute and works very well with young children. It's a technique called toddlerese. It was developed by Dr. Kaplan. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to toddlerese. I happen to have done it once with, I had a child later in life with my youngest child, and I did it once in ShopRite. I remember doing it, and everyone was looking at me like I fell off the moon, but it worked, and so then everyone was quiet. Okay, it's a great method to deal with tantrums. I used it once I used it many times, but publicly I used it once when my son was almost 3. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a scene when the mother and the 3-year-old son are home. Mommy, I want Fruity Pebbles. I really want Fruity Pebbles. This is the son. The mother, we don't have Fruity Pebbles, and we have to finish the cereals before Passover. I want those Fruity Pebbles. And he starts having a huge tantrum, getting louder and louder. I want it. I want those Fruity Pebbles. Now, the mother could say, Danny, I know how much you want that. You really want that Fruity Pebbles. And if the mother wants to be creative, this is really toddlerese, adopt a funny voice. You really want those Fruity Pebbles? You really want them? I know how much you want them. You want them so much. I wish I had that cereal in the house. I know how much you want it. You are such a special little boy. I wish I could give you those Fruity Pebbles. You want it so much. And the kid starts looking at the mother like the mother fell off the moon. Because the mother is getting into this acting role of really empathizing with the child's feelings. This is toddlerese. I really want it. And the mother says, so what should we do? What should we do? Well, maybe I'll have cornflakes. Okay, so what happened here in toddlerese? The mother started acting out the child's feelings. You really want it. You want those Fruity Pebbles. And the more, she was a little crazy. I remember when I did it in My child wanted something in the supermarket that wasn't kosher, which is a typical thing when you go to a supermarket with a child, take something off. And instead of giving them a whole speech, it's not kosher, we can't buy it, I said to him, you really want that chocolate bar? And I was going on and on. He says, I really want it. And I said, well, what can we do? And finally, we bought something else instead, or whatever it was. He stopped and he looked at me like, that's funny. Mommy's acting really funny. The whole place looked at me, actually. But it worked. And it actually, if you ever try it with your young children, it works. I'm telling you, it works. I used this toddlerese. It was a charm. Because instead of saying to the child, you know, we have to get rid of the cereal before Passover, I don't have it in the house, stop being a baby, stop having a tantrum, you don't get into that whole conflict with the child. You empathize with the child. You say, you really want it. I understand how you feel. And even that 3-year-old child suddenly says, I'm understood. Mommy understands I want the Fruity Pebbles. She can't give it to you, but at least she understands she's giving me something. It's just like the husband who made you a cup of tea and sat and said, honey, just tell me how your day was. Let me listen. He understood your feeling. I always say to people, sometimes when they, let's say, if you want, you know, if your husband says to you, you say to your husband, oh, I want that beautiful diamond necklace for our anniversary. If he says to you, what's wrong with you? You know we can't afford that diamond necklace. What's wrong with you? You feel terrible. But if he were to say to you, you, my special wife, you're such an amazing wife, I really want to buy you that diamond necklace. Can't really afford it now, but I'll start saving, and I will put money away, and I will eventually buy you that diamond necklace. Even if he doesn't buy it you, he probably will eventually. You feel validated. He says to you, you're such a special wife. You really deserve that diamond necklace. I really wish I could buy it for you. It's the same concept. He's not giving you the necklace, but he's giving you the feeling that you're validated. And I think we're all children inside. We all need to be validated, and our children need to be validated. How many times when you say to someone, she's a good friend or he's a good friend, what does that good friend really give you? A listening ear. They listen to your feelings. They validate you. They make you feel special. And that makes you feel comfortable, and it makes you actually let go of your pain. Okay, so I just want to go back to this toddlerese. Validate the toddler's feelings, and in some way, by validating, you'll get them to cooperate. We, again, have to give our children roots and wings. Roots to feel good about themselves, I said before, and wings to fly away and establish their own homes. Okay, I want to give you one more story. I've done a lot of parenting workshops, and one of my parenting workshops, one of the mothers presented to me a problem that she had with her 4-year-old son. Every Friday he would give her a hard time going to kindergarten because the 2.5-year-old brother did not have playgroup on Friday. Why can't I stay home like baby Isaac? Why do I have to go to school? And her son was very closed-child, and he didn't open up to her with his feelings. Why he didn't want to go to school on Friday. So she asked me in the parenting workshop, what do I do? Dr. Respler, what do I do? How could I alleviate this problem? And I recommended to her that she try, and there's a great technique called the mutual storytelling technique. So in using this technique, the mother consults the child how to solve a similar problem that a friend is having with their child. So in this case, I said to her, tell your son that your friend is having a problem with her daughter, who has a younger sister, and what should she do? So she says to the child, A.B. was a boy, so she used a girl to portray the problem. She said, A.B., my friend Esther has a problem with her daughter, Naomi. Naomi doesn't want to go to school on Friday since her little sister Miriam stays home from playgroup. And she asks, why can't she stay home like baby Miriam? What do you think Esther should do, A.B.? What do you think Esther should do with Naomi, who doesn't want to go to school? Well, said A.B., and this was a close child, does Naomi like school? Does she like to play in the playground? Yes, I think so, said A.B.'s mother. Well, said A.B., tell her that she'll be bored at home. What do you do Friday at home? You cook, you clean. It's not so much fun. School is so much more fun. She'll get to go to the playground. You know what else, Mommy? Maybe Naomi will also feel special if her mommy picks her up from school on Friday. Maybe she won't mind going to school. So suddenly a light bulb went off in the mother's head. A.B. wanted to be special. He wanted to be picked up from school Friday. It's better. He's out all day Friday. She picks him up from school. It's better than having two kids at home. The next day, she told me, I think the parenting, this workshop was Thursday, so then she told me a week later, the next day was Friday, and A.B. again said, why does baby Isaac get to stay home? I don't want to go to school. And the mother answered very calmly from the parenting workshop, how would you feel if I picked you up from school? Would you feel better about going, A.B.? A.B. said, I'd feel so special. And he went off to school without a problem. So here A.B. was a closed child, but who never revealed his feelings. But the mutual storytelling technique worked wonders because through this technique, she was able to access his feelings by him giving her advice how he would handle the problem if it was a different situation. I'm going to give you another analogy. A man is constantly chasing his cows. A friend of him says, why don't you just build a fence around the cows? He says, when do I have time to build the fence? I'm constantly chasing my cows. So clearly the man didn't realize that he would not have to chase his cows if he built a fence, and he would ultimately save so much time. This is the investment I am asking you to make with your children. Your children are young. Spend time with them. Everyone says quality time, but you need some quantity. It can't just be quality. It has to be time. You really have to give them time. Understanding their feelings, building your relationship with them is of monumental importance. It's like a building block. And I know one rabbi said, spend time with your children when they're young, because if not, you'll end up spending time with them in the principal's office, God forbid in prison, in mental hospital, in the drug rehab. They will get that time from you. You don't want them to get that time that way. You want them to give them the time in a loving, positive way when they're little. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And the peace and the harmony they see as two parents as a team, is worth a lot as well. And even if you're divorced, parenting them and never making them a pawn in your divorce, co-parenting in a loving way and making them realize that both mommy and daddy love them and want the best for them is really going to help them grow up to be, as Wallace G. and Kelly, strong, healthy adults. And this validation that your child will get will help them make decisions in the future, help them be confident as adults. When a parent disregards their child's feelings or opinions, it makes the child feel unimportant. What am I? Nothing? And it leads to tremendous self-esteem issues as an adult. When a child's opinion is noticed and mentioned, it helps the child to identify themselves and feel good about themselves and make decisive decisions when they get to go older. We could tell our children many things what to do, but we teach our children more by example. If we steal, they will steal. If we lie, they will lie. If we gossip, they will gossip. If we respect our own parents, they will respect us. So again, you teach more by example than in any other way. And I just wanted to, I'm just looking at the clock. I'm just seeing how we're going here with the time. Okay. Right. So I think that we can really give our children self-esteem. It's the most important gift you can give them. I sit in my office every day. Trust me, it is the roots of every single problem. Children that go off, children that become irreligious, children that are on drugs, children that don't go to work, children that can't marry, children that have problems dating. All this is because of lots of times low self-esteem. Creating a child is like baking a cake. And some cakes come out so delicious and some flop. Sometimes you see a mediocre family, just an average family, not a brilliant family, and they bring up amazing children. And sometimes you see such an amazing, prominent family, and their children are all messed up. Maybe they didn't have enough time for their children. Maybe they were too busy being prominent. So I think it's really important that we should really, I know that there was a rabbi who spoke publicly about this because he was not happy with the way his children turned out. He felt his children were not so successful. And he said, you know what my mistake was? That instead of spending time at the Sabbath table, instead of singing with them and making it a warm, loving home, I was busy learning Torah. However, the cook in the yeshiva, it was unbelievable. The cook in the yeshiva, the same yeshiva, brought up amazing children. They became amazingly successful. And he realized that the yeshiva was a warm person, and he was able to create a warm environment with a lot of praise and singing and warmth in the house. And the children turned out very confident and feeling good about themselves. There was singing and happiness in the house and warmth. And that warm, loving atmosphere helped those children turn out very successful. So he begged everyone to learn from his mistakes and create atmospheres in their home where their children will learn to feel like special people. Okay, I'm going to end this little lecture with two stories that I think are very important. One story is actually a story from one of the Lubavitch Rebbes, Rabbi Shmuel. This lecture is being sponsored by Lubavitch. There were two brothers, a short older brother and a tall younger brother. So in other words, the older brother was shorter than the younger brother. So if you're a child and you have a younger brother who's taller than you, it probably doesn't feel too good. And it didn't feel so good for this older brother. So one day, while the two were playing outdoors, the older brother snuck up behind his younger brother, pushed him into a ditch, and stood up high and said, "Look who's taller now! Look who's taller now!" because he threw him into a ditch. It so happened that the boy's father was Rabbi Shmuel, one of the Lubavitch Rebbes at the time, and he observed the entire incident. The Rebbe asked for a chair and asked his older son to stand on it. "Tell me," he said. "Go stand on the chair," he said to the older son who was shorter. "Who's taller now?" And the older brother excitedly said once again, I'm taller. "Aha," said Rabbi Shmuel. "To be bigger than someone else and then your friend, there's no need to pull him down. Simply pull yourself up." It's a very good lesson. We don't have to put other people down to feel good about ourselves. We could put them up and we could put ourselves up. And in fact, when we put other people up and make other people feel good, it makes us feel good. If we're confident people, we feel good about helping other people. We feel good about praising other people. I'm going to end with one of my favorite stories. It's about Thomas Edison. Okay, he lived between 1847 and 1931. He was one of the most important inventors in history. He developed many devices that greatly influenced around the world, including the phonograph, the motion picture camera, long-lasting practical electric light bulb. I mean, tons and tons of inventions. Everyone knows who Thomas Edison was. As a young child, he came home one day from school and gave a paper to his mother. He told her, "My teacher gave me this paper and told me to give it to you, my mother." His mother's eyes were tearful as she read the letter out loud to her child. "Your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and doesn't have enough good teachers for training him. Please teach him yourself." So she did. She homeschooled Thomas Edison. Many, many years after Thomas Edison's mother died, he was now one of the greatest inventors of the century. And one day he was looking through old family things, and suddenly he saw a folded paper in the corner drawer of the desk. He took it and opened it, and on the paper was written, "Your son is addled," which was mentally retarded. We won't let him come to school anymore. What did Thomas Edison's mother do? She didn't read the letter properly to him. She told him he was a genius and they couldn't teach him because he was too smart. Edison cried for hours, and he wrote in his diary, "Thomas Alva Edison was an addled child," which means was a retarded child. He wasn't. And by a hero mother became a genius of the century. And this is true. The expectations that we have of our child that they could succeed will make them succeed. the expectations that we have of our child, that we can create warm, loving, happy children in a warm, loving environment where we as parents team up to bring up healthy, healthy children, will help them become strong, secure adults. And on that note, I tell you, this is the best investment you can make. I can't sell you an insurance policy that's greater than this. The better and more effectively you're going to parent your children, and the more you're going to be a team, the more you're going to complement each other as parents, the more you're going to complement your children as individuals, the more proud you're going to be of them, the more warm and loving an environment you're going to create at home and safe, the more the children are going to grow up to be strong, independent, healthy people that can change worlds. They could change worlds. They could change everything in life if they have that inner strength within them. And only you as a parent can give it to them. So never put each other down in front of the children. Always speak well of each other. Always respect each other and respect your children. That feeling of mutual respect and support and love and building in your family will ultimately create healthy, strong individual children that will become healthy, strong adults and will be able to, again, build roots and wings and build beautiful homes in this world. And on that note, I leave you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoyed this lecture, and I hope it helps you bring up your children. Parent them as a team. Hopefully stay married, but if you don't, still parent them as a team and give them that strength to be healthy adults. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. This lecture has been recorded, it's being recorded, and it will be available on our website at adai.org/past-events. That's Adai, ADAIAD.org/past-events. We look forward to the next event in the next few weeks. Also on the topic of working as a team. You can check that out at adai.org/events. And look out for our next events on social media. So thank you all, and good night. Thank you, Dr. Yael.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.